What's up, YouTube? It's time for a review of the new Macklemore record Gemini, out this past Friday, September 22nd. I was really curious to hear this one because Macklemore hasn't made a proper solo studio album since his first one, Language of My World, in 2005. It'll be exactly 12 years ago next month. That's crazy, isn't it? To think about how long 12 years is and how much the world changes in that time period. Of course, the reason for this big gap in Macklemore's solo material is because for practically the last decade, he has existed solely as one half of a duo with producer Ryan Lewis. And I guess with the exception of the Unplanned mixtape in 2009, where Ryan only has a couple production credits, basically every Macklemore song you've heard in the last 9-10 years has been a Ryan Lewis beat and a Ryan Lewis collaboration. And like a solid majority of his listeners, I first heard Macklemore as part of this duo in the months leading up to him and Ryan's debut album, The Heist, which of course became one of the biggest pop rap albums of this decade, spawned a gay rights anthem, a party song for the college kids. It generated a lot of controversy when it won a Grammy for Best Rap Album over Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City. And Macklemore handled that situation, I guess, whatever the opposite word of gracefully. That's how Macklemore handled that situation. He basically screenshotted like a personal text to Kendrick where he apologized for robbing him. It was really uncomfortable. There was a lot of white guilt involved, and people started to really hate on Macklemore if they hadn't been already. He had just become this really easy target for people. Now, when The Heist came out, I definitely enjoyed it. I thought some of the songs were a little sappy. Sometimes Macklemore was a little melodramatic for my taste, but for the most part, I thought it was great. But it was around Christmas time that year, when people used to buy music, that I decided to do my due diligence on Macklemore, and I bought his first record, Language of My World, and that's what really won me over. If you haven't yet, to set the stage for this album, you gotta listen to Language of My World. It is a great indie hip-hop record. And it showcases that early on, Macklemore had such a strong grasp on making conceptual hip-hop songs. I'd especially recommend The Love Song, which is one of the most touching, sweetest songs on relationships I've ever heard in hip-hop. Contradiction gives you that food for thought, Macklemore. Remember High School is a great song. And of course, the Penis Song, which is fucking hilarious and is the first old Macklemore song I ever heard. So now you understand why I was so smitten, because let's be honest, what more can you ask for than riveting content like that? So I'm preferring to treat this new record Gemini more as a proper follow-up to Language of My World, especially since I didn't like Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's follow-up to The Heist, This Unruly Mess I've Made, which came out last year and was a big letdown for me. In the description, I'll link a full written review that I did of that record at the time. Basically what happened is that Macklemore's two sides got more polar and the music really suffered as a result. Like his goofy stuff got just really cringy and unfunny, and his socially aware stuff just got so suffocating and so just too much. So I was glad to see that he was coming out with a solo record, and he also mentioned in the press that on Gemini he's gonna be kind of steering clear of the weighty political issues this time around, which I thought was a good idea. And the first thing that I'll say about Gemini, which I think needs to be said and might get lost in translation a bit, is that I have never questioned Macklemore's abilities as an actual MC. I think that when it comes to the art of rapping, he's a bit slept on. Because once again on Gemini, he checks every box when it comes to technical rhyming ability. You can hear him showcase some impressive breath control in the first verse of the song Willy Wonka, where he hits us with this choppy double time flow. I think that he's spitting his ass off on the song Levitate, where his flow is as lively and as festive as the busy break beat that's underneath him. He's just darting all over the place. And his verse on the song Corner Store is another great showcase for his talents. He's experimenting with this sing-songy delivery at first, then he's right in the pocket, then he gets behind the beat a little bit. He's putting some clever syllables together in this one. My point is the guy can rap. And unfortunately, that always gets overlooked with him. And to be honest, it'll probably get overlooked with this record too, because as I'm about to explain, this record has some serious flaws that will easily distract people from all the shit that I just put in the effort to point out. For one, this song Marmalade with Lil Yachty, holy shit is this bad. Ironically, in Macklemore's defense, I actually think it's kind of ballsy and a little bit rebellious for him to try this stupid autotune thing, because I don't think anyone expects it out of him, but that doesn't mean that it goes well. The beat has this dumb, bouncy piano line, and there's this awful Yachty feature where he has some line about making a girl moan like Mozart. And I actually think the hook to this song is sort of catchy, but my God, is this style just not for me. Thankfully, Marmalade is the only track on the album that sticks out to me as being like actively difficult to listen to. But my main struggle with a lot of the rest of this album is that this time around I'm not connecting with what Macklemore is saying on these songs. His references, I guess, are just a little bit too all over the place, or a bit silly, or too cringy sometimes. And I find that I'm having a tough time caring about the content of his rhymes, which is an issue that I've never had before with Macklemore. The single Good Old Days with Kesha, that's a great nostalgia tune. Over It is a decent meditation on the cyclical misery of a romance. Song Intentions, despite being horribly corny, is a pretty relatable musing on contradicting yourself and the struggles of making your actions match your beliefs. But other than these exceptions, I'm finding it very difficult to grab onto and relate to the themes in these songs. I think a lot of it actually has to do with just the abundance of head-turning, unbearably corny lines that he just throws out there sometimes that will legitimately distract you from what's going on in the song. Here are a few examples. On Marmalade, watching Toy Story 3. That's a great fucking movie. Okay, is there a reason that you said that? Does that relate to anything, or is that just you're watching Toy Story 3 and you want to let us know, get nostalgic for your college days? Like, what is the point of that? On Fire Breather, when he talks about having, like the first bar of the song, he talks about having a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, but he never listened to the band. What? Is that a bar? Is that like an honest to God bar? Also, to be honest, like as a rock and metal fan, that is kind of like a sore subject for me. I don't like when people just wear these shirts that they know nothing about. You don't have to be an expert on the band or the artist, but at least like do some of your homework. Know what's on your fucking body. Anyway, on Zara, there's that line where he goes, "We go out to Target." Why we go to Target? That line in particular, it makes that recent Drake Cheesecake Factory line sound like fucking poetry by comparison. And look, I suppose it's part of Macklemore's appeal, this just carefree, open book corniness. But just for me, when I hear these lines, it makes it tougher for me to get on Team Macklemore and really care about what he's saying. There's plenty of cute, clever little one-liners that are good for a chuckle here and there, but I just find that on this album, way less than past projects, I find that I'm not listening as intently to the words. Ironically though, my favorite track on here is the one where Macklemore goes for a bit of a traditional flex. The song 10 Million is fucking awesome. He's equipped with this hazy banger of a beat, and he brings just this monster double-tracked harmonized hook on top of it, and then lyrically he goes off. It's so nice to hear Macklemore on his flex a little bit. Seriously, like the guy has a lot to be feeling himself on, and I just felt so refreshed to hear him step out a little bit from this overly, overly sincere, white guilt, silliness kind of thing, and really puff his chest out. There's this awesome line on this song about his accountant being dead because he couldn't count enough zeros. And then there's perhaps my favorite line that I've heard from a rapper in a while. It's certainly a unique line where he says, "Say what's up to my haters at the club tonight. I'll be busy singing my daughter lullabies." That's just so, like, what other rapper would you hear spit that? And ironically, it actually sort of fits, because basically what he's saying is that he's too busy, he has too much other important shit going on, like raising a fucking child, to worry about people's shit talk. I actually thought it was a pretty slick line. I also really like the track Corner Store. Definitely reeks of Chance the Rapper influence, which at some point in the album, Macklemore mentions that his daughter listens to Chance, which is cute. But Corner Store is just a fun, good-natured tune. I think both of Macklemore's guests, Dave B and Travis Thompson, fit the vibe really well. But what really puts Macklemore in his own lane on Gemini, for better or for worse, is the production. These instrumentals are all over the place. There are a lot of different flavors being served up here. For me, my least favorite moments are the super sappy, overtly poppy instrumentals that just have nothing to do with hip hop. I've never liked Macklemore over these beats, and that trend continues on this record. Like the piano-driven ballad that closes everything, Excavate. I could have imagined, just based on the heist, I could have imagined that up before I even heard the record. Same with Good Old Days. Intentions is brutal with that lightly strummed folky guitar. Oh, and Macklemore singing over it is even worse, but that's a whole other issue. And I'm not crazy about the bouncy piano being paired with the We Will Rock You drums in the opening song, Ain't Gonna Die Tonight. But the other half of the time, I am loving some of these beats. That flute sample and How to Play the Flute, fucking awesome. My favorite beat, just bar none, has to be just the gorgeous beachside serenity of the song Zara. Huge top 40 influence on this one with those chipmunk vocal samples, some EDM flourishes. I already shouted out the song Levitate, which has that restless dance beat that I love. I also think the song Fire Breather is an interesting production choice with that guitar riff that has been stuck in my head all weekend now. It's basically like, it sounds like a B-side of like a mid-90s Red Hot Chili Peppers song. So as you can tell, my feelings on this album are all over the place. I hate some stuff, I really like some stuff, a lot of stuff I'm indifferent to, and all this put together just lands me somewhere in the middle. Is this a better project than Unruly Mess? 1,000%. Is Macklemore as compelling as he was on Language of My World or The Heist? No, but also I know that it was a conscious decision on his part to dial things back thematically. Can already tell that I'm going to be so sick of Glorious and Good Old Days if they stay in radio rotation, so that kind of deducts points. I'm actually already sick of Glorious. And God forbid Marmalade gets picked up, which I don't think it will, but still. These pop songs that Macklemore makes really kill me. He's good at doing it, but I'm just not into that sound. It just sounds like hip-hop for soccer moms. Especially hearing songs like 10 Million, where he sounds really good over traditional hip-hop production. Why do we need to make these piano songs where it's just like, my daughter and the good old days? He's good at doing it, but it's just not for me. But hey, props to Macklemore for another record that is authentic and is so clearly him. You know, he seems like such a genuine dude, and I know there's been so much backlash, but I'm always rooting for him. I think his heart is in the right place, and he proves once again on Gemini that he can rap his ass off. I just wish he'd steer clear of some of the cornier lines and some of the pop stuff and just bring us an honest-to-God hip-hop album. I think that'd be dope, and I'd be the first one in line to check it out. Gemini gets a 5 out of 10 from me. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.